are coming to you with College Planning Untangled and talking about areas to consider when you're choosing a college. And today our topic's location.
Yeah, I think, I've mentioned this, I think, off and on during our conversations before, but uh, I didn't think about location almost at all, when I thought about colleges.
Well,
And I
neither do
probably should have.
now. I got to tell you though, being a little bit older,
Hmm.
I think, back when I was applying to college in the middle of Iowa, there
Hmm.
was one choice because
Yep.
that's where everybody went, right? So I agree with you. I mean, it wasn't even a consideration. That's where I'm going.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I think I basically went to the college my older brother went to and knew some friends who were going there. And so that seemed great. And then I think I came up with a justification after. I was like, well, it's 45 minutes away. So that's far enough that parents can't just drop in, but it is still close enough to run home and do laundry or whatever,
Right? Well, okay. Kristen's fun fact of the week is the average miles that a student goes to way to college
Hmm.
is right around like that 95 mile
Yeah,
ish. Yeah. Now, given in Texas where we are, we know that it's a really big state and,
yeah,
that number is a little bit bigger, but across the country, it's about 95 miles. So, and
sure.
when I went to school, yeah, it was about an hour and a half drive. So
Hmm.
that's probably right within that range.
Hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. And so, I think, I always mention, when I've worked with students for college admissions, I tell them that's one of the things because it seems like there's just a million colleges, and so start with just like go look at some interesting places that are, like have mountains nearby or have water nearby or whatever, right? Just because if you think that would be fun, then go check that out, right?
Well, and there is a comfort level too for
Hmm.
every kiddo, and it's different. So you have to let them really decide, are they going to be comfortable living far away from you?
Hmm.
Maybe a plane ride, maybe not a car ride, or are they going to want to be a little bit closer? I can tell
Absolutely.
you, just in my household, we had one that went 9 hours away and one that's about 3.5,
Yep.
so yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think one simple thing is like a lot of people don't realize, I think they think every college is just this big gigantic tract of land somewhere with all these buildings and you kind of never leave. And there are some colleges that are kind of like that. I've mentioned Yale before, like mostly people stay on campus because New Haven is, kind of like a more working class town or something. But like I know Vanderbilt, where my niece goes, like that is kind of integrated into downtown, and Rice University in Houston, also very much in the middle of downtown business district, and so that's one thing that's kind of an interesting thought.
Oh
Same
yeah.
thing with Columbia in New York, right?
Right. Yeah. Think about NYU. What
Hmm.
a cool town to be in the middle of town, to be in the
Yeah,
middle.
exactly.
Yeah, but you're in the middle of New York, and how cool is that? But you're right. I mean, location's really kind of important. Where I went at the University of Iowa, the town really was the college.
Hmm.
Really, it went from 30,000 to 65,000 while students were in school. So it
Hmm.
really affected the town, as does OSU, where my youngest goes. It's
Absolutely.
small town, and it's the college is kind of the heart of it.
Absolutely. And then places like Duke University literally feels like going to a summer camp. It's just grass and trees and beautiful things. And I think Virginia is like that as well. Just this beautiful, gorgeous, more rural landscape or whatever. And it's just really, really beautiful. And so I think that can really affect, like, if you think about, and I think a lot of people don't think about this, but like, what is your mindset going to be like as you walk to class every day, right?
Yeah,
If
yeah,
you're in New York City, you're going to have a different walk to class than if you're at Duke or, someplace like that.
yeah. And then, so let's talk a little bit, Bobby, about the relationship that the area has with the college, because I think that makes a
Hmm.
difference as well. I'm going to bring up places like University of Arkansas.
Hmm.
Where again, it's the town is really important. The university is really important to the town. It seems like most of the people that live there, their kids have gone there.
Hmm.
So it matters, right? TCU,
Absolutely.
you drive through campus and everything in the city, and everything's purple.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's kind of, like this small town, big town thing. Uh, you know, do you want to feel like there's this community like where you can go and see the same people? Like with TCU, it's just big enough, but just small enough that you would always see people that you met. You knew you would run into them again. Whereas I don't think that's necessarily true at the University of Texas or places like that. It might be a little hard to actually find someone again unless you knew exactly what, kind of classes they take or whatever, like, and so I think that's part of it. And the same thing, the community around it, like, will you be instantly identifiable as one of the college students? And that means something in a town like where the university is the college, is the town, right? Or will you just be an anonymous person in a large city? Like those are, and each person would have different preferences. And unless you actually think about it, it might not occur to you to even consider that at all.
Right. And it's important. Yeah. Because there is a different vibe, a different feel, based on that. And that sense of community, and we know, having looked at the Gallup-Purdue study, that being a part of a community is a huge part of the growth that you experience when you're in college. So, it's important. It's important to feel part of a group and a group that other people look at as a nice part of the community, not, it's those college students or,
Right. Absolutely. And these are things, like feeling part of a community, that's one of those factors that leads to success and staying in college, not transferring to a different college and extending your time and all that. Right. If you know that you're going to be happy in the location you choose, that really helps a lot. And I think, like people may not realize also that you can research a lot of these things, like how safe is the area where this place is, right? You can actually look, colleges report, like security incidents with their students getting injured or getting, or whatever, students getting into trouble on campus, off campus. And that's part of the thing too. And I guess location, that's a big part of the thing too, is, do people stay on the campus on the weekends, or are they off in the town all the time, right? If students are going to be going miles away into town, you got to be worried about whether they might drive a car or things like that, and make sure that there are, options for, like safe transportation and things like that.
Absolutely.
You might need to factor in, a budget for Uber or Lyft or something like that. Right.
Yes, which can get quite pricey, as we all know. And, but love to have the service and making sure that our kids are safe. So one other thing I think that we need to talk about is the community, how they're supporting our kids as far as job opportunities.
Absolutely. Yeah. So like, that's one of those things with like, I think in Texas, there's a big reputation for this, that I think a lot of employers in Texas historically have liked to hire people who came from Texas colleges. And in particular in Dallas, I am sure that graduates of SMU often get, some amount of benefit because of alumni connections and things like that. Whereas if you just chose a college that's out in a rural area in, across the country, that may not be a place that has lots of job opportunities. And you can find that out by talking to the Alumni Center and talking to the, about, what kind of, job retention, or what kind of job placement is there. You can talk to the Job Placement Center and see what.
Right. Even internships, like I always think of University of Arkansas, again, I'll bring that up, the home of, Sam Walton and Walmart. The school is very much tied to them, and they do offer great internships and job opportunities. They really support the school that way, which I love.
Absolutely. And I think we saw that as well when we talked over the spring about the factors that lead to success in college and later in life and careers. One of them is getting practical hands-on opportunities to research things, both working with a professor and outside, going and getting to have an internship or some sort of practical work in your field. That's how you fall in love with it. That's how you make connections, right? And so absolutely, I think, if nothing else, you'd like to consider whether you've got lots of, strong businesses in town that are in the field that you want or something like that, that would help, both with, getting that internship experience, but also with making connections and that for the future in case that's, there you want to work in.
Yeah, so it's great questions to ask too when you're on your college tours. And with that reminder, I will include in the comments the questions that you should ask when you're on a college tour, which addresses some of these things. And I also look, Bobby, at I don't know if it's an anomaly, but my son went to the University of Alabama, and I'll tell you, I'll wear a t-shirt, and any place I am, you'll get the Roll Tide, and it comes out of nowhere, and at first it would surprise me a little bit. I'd be like, Roll Tide. But it really reminds you that there's this huge sense of belonging, and that they really do try to take care of their own. So even though a lot of the kids go to Tuscaloosa and then go back to their homes, which are just a lot of times states away, there is this network,
Absolutely,
everywhere from the University of Alabama. And I travel quite a bit just with work and family. And I'm telling you, I can go to almost any state and I'll get the Roll Tide. So, I think you got to think about those things as well. So it's not necessarily just geographic.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I think that's when you talk about the community, it's, the location in the community, geographically, but also, the group you're joining that you'll be part of the rest of your life. And that's part of the thing. And so it really is like these large colleges a lot of them have so much pride and connection between the alumni. It really is amazing. And that's probably another thing that, it would never occur to a high school student to think about other than, I know a lot of people who went there. Right. But so that's part of that feeling of community. And if you feel that loyalty and pride in I'm part of this group, you are more likely to start and finish and not change schools. And, that's what it all comes down to, is being happy and having a great experience, but also having it be financially affordable. And part of that is being happy and staying there at that college and not transferring and not ending up finding yourself unhappy and ending up spending 5 or 6 years. I still can't get over, that fact that the average length of college is, I think you told me 6.2 years for the average student is how long they spend. And that, I went and looked it up more because I was so confused by it. And I saw that only 10% of students are graduating within 4 years nationally, that on average, less than 10% or about 10% graduate in 4 years. And I think that just makes this more, I think nobody really thinks about that fact. And that's just all of these things, this whole list of things we've been talking about the last few weeks are all the things to ask those questions about to minimize that risk of accidentally spending more years than you want.
And we'll have to share resources. The number I've always heard on the graduating in 4 years is closer to 40%, but it could be of all kids that start versus all the ones that finish. So I'm sure there's a mix of it, but to your point, it's a small number of kids in the scheme of things that finish in 4 years. And it really means true dollars for families.
Yeah, I think that is what the weird percentage is. 10% of those that start finish in 4 years, and 40% of those who actually do complete it, 40% of them are completing it in 4 years. Yeah.
Got it.
It's crazy. So I think this is just absolutely if you're planning a college visit, go back and look at these episodes. This is what our fourth, I think, in this series, right? We're going to do a few more. We're going to talk about all the different things you should talk about when you visit a college. And these are all just starting points, because it's really, I remember when I went on my college tours and I would just passively, go on the tour, and then I would ask basic questions like, is it fun to go here? I didn't know what things to ask. And I think this really helps. And asking these perceptive questions also, your tour guide, your admissions officer will make note of it, and that will matter in admissions as well. So all these things all tie together.
All right, Bobby, it's always fun.
Absolutely. Have a good week, and I'll talk to you next time.
All right, bye.
Bye.